Hey, it's Marina, travel experta. Have you heard of a Lucha Libre? Or maybe you know it because you've watched Nacho Libre? Well, today I'm going to talk about Lucha Libre in Mexico and make every day an adventure. Before I go traveling anywhere, I always like to have my own make every day an adventure list because even though there are things that you have to do or you need to do or you should do and kind of like the must see things of any location and destination you go to, I personally love to have my own. And some of them are so tiny and, might not be like a really cool thing to, the must sees and maybe not even talked about. And then there are some that obviously are a must do, must see thing. And Lucha Libre is definitely one of those. For me, it's both. It's make every day an adventure, massive list item for me, and it's also a must do when you go to Mexico City. Me and my family are huge Nacho Libre fans. I mean, my family, my kids and my husband included, literally pretty much know every word to Nacho Libre. That's how crazy they are. So we just love the whole thing, the comedy behind it, and we know what Lucha Libre is. Well, I actually know Lucha Libre because 20 years ago when I first came to Mexico City, I went to one of their events. I mean, it is crazy. If you don't know what Lucha Libre is, it's literally wrestling. It's wrestling in Mexican terms. And interestingly enough, it is the second most important sport in Mexico, all of Mexico. Second after soccer, football, of course. So Lucha Libre is this massive, crazy, over the top, dramatic, acrobatic event. It is just insanely cool. And of course, that was literally one of my number one things that I had to do with my family. When we said we're going to Mexico City, I immediately started to figure out how could we go to Lucha Libre. And I went and I found one of those Airbnb experiences, my very first one that I've ever done actually. And it was the Lucha Libre. And it was make a mask, hang out with somebody that will teach you a little bit about Lucha Libre and then take you to the actual event. And the tickets are all included in that. So we did this. So the way it began was the experience. You went to the guy's house and he had all the masks all ready for you and all the different materials. He gave a little briefing about Lucha Libre. It started back in the late 1800s as wrestling, and then in 1942 somebody made it into what it was today, the kind of dramatic over the top stuff, and since then it has escalated to the magnitude that it is today, and it is unbelievable. I mean, we're talking acrobatics, shows. It is all staged, right? We don't know how it's staged. Obviously, that is something done before. And yes, it is a lot of acrobatics and a lot of, riling up the crowds. I mean, the crowds go wild, and it's really interesting because some of these luchadores, these wrestlers, they have a following. Then there's some that always play the bad part, some that always play the good part. I mean, it's like this massive circus act and show, and it's really fun. And it looks like, yes, it is a sport. It might not be like wrestling and there's actual, there is a referee, but who wins, who loses. But the acrobatics and what these guys, the fitness of these guys, the muscle, these guys go through a beating. And not only with one another, but the way they jump on each other, the way they fall, the way they bounce, the acrobatic acts that they do, and there is no cushioning. It is really over the top. The main arena is in Roma Norte, which is in this amazing, beautiful neighborhood. And I recommend you go and listen to my podcast about Roma Norte. I have an entire podcast about it. It's a neighborhood in Mexico City. So if you're staying in Roma Norte, and I recommend that you do, it's one of the most beautiful safest areas in Mexico City by far. You can literally walk to the arena, and the arena is huge. It's probably 15,000 people. And I mean, it's a show. It's this wild, amazing show that you really, really need to go and check out. And you could get cheap tickets, like really cheap tickets for like $10, $12. So obviously, the more closer you are to the arena, the more expensive they will get. But if you could put anything on your list of to-dos, definitely do this. So the thing with Lucha Libre, they do have scheduled shows. So if you want to make sure that you catch a show, so schedule your trip to Mexico City around that show. And they're usually in the evenings, and it could be any day of the week. So definitely check that out before you make your plan. But I recommend everybody go and check out Lucha Libre. It is for all ages. There was a family that had their 3-month old next to me. I think that's just a little bit too much, but either way, highly, highly recommended. And if you want to make every day an adventure, go to my website, travel expert with an a.com, for a whole list of really fun, make every day an adventure, from really cool stuff that's expensive to freebies and everything in between. And if you liked this episode, please review it and share it with your friends. And remember, make every day an adventure.